Alright, so I guess we'll see if my brain is active enough for this. So, last night I finished reading the manga, The Flowers of Evil, after realizing that I read the wrong one. Read that over about 2 days. It's like, what is it, 57 chapters? It was good. I really enjoyed it. The entire thing was just, it was a good ride from start to finish. It reminded me, so whenever I say it reminded me a lot of Poon Poon, uh, which I'm going to explain that a little bit. Whenever I say that, it's like if you were to take Goodnight Poon Poon and just take all of the romance from it, like just take all of the aspects of the romance out of it and just kind of swipe everything else away and just have the romance, and you were to take all of that and turn it into a whole nother manga, that's what it feels like. It feels like Poon Poon, but only the romance, which I think is really good. I really like the romance in Poon Poon, but then again, I really liked everything about Poon Poon. Probably at some point in time, I will make a video on that, but it's been years since I've read it at this point. So I might have to go and do a little bit of rereading to refresh myself on that. So maybe some other time. But this one, so I think I've said before, like, I like romance. Like, I like romance manga. For the most part, what gets me with it is it goes on too long. All of them that I've tried to read so far, like, they just keep going. Like, I don't even remember what the title of the last one I read was. But, like, after volume 4, there was such a good ending point that I honest to God think that that is where it was meant to end. But then, like, the publishers demanded more, so they had to keep making more. So, like, it was such a good setup, payoff. Everything went full circle, and I'm like, that was a good read. Why is there more? I stopped reading it there. I went, no, this is a good ending for me, so this is where I'm stopping. And that's one of the things I really like about this one. So it's 57 chapters. To me, that's kind of like a medium or a light read, because, you know, I've read Gantz, I've read Berserk, I've read Frisia. All of those are like 300 plus chapters. So I'm all like, this is just a one afternoon kind of read. Now I do it kind of on and off because getting my brain to focus on one thing for long periods of time doesn't really work for me. So it was just constantly switching back and forth. But this thing, like, a couple of the times, the reason that I stopped reading wasn't because I wanted to stop reading. It's just because I got hit with so much emotion that I had to sit there and process it by doing something else. Either doing something else or just sitting there and going, oh shit, bro. For real? That just... Jesus. It was really good. Those kind of moments are one of my quote-unquote complaints. It's not really a complaint. I think because of the length of the manga, you can only get so many of those. But to me, there was only really two of those moments. Two of the moments that had me going, holy shit, I need to sit down and just... Yeah. I've just got to figure this out emotionally. I kind of feel like I want to get into those two moments. Yeah, I think I'm just going to here. So the first one, all right. So this manga, let's roll it back a little bit. So this manga, it is, I'm going to call it a dark romance. All right. It's kind of a coming of age, but not really. It's just for the most part like one, I'm going to say like 6-month block where a bunch of shit happens, and then they forward us to 3 years and how, like, the main character is dealing with what happened in the past, and then showing him breaking through and moving forward from it, which is really nice. But yeah, it's like a darker romance where essentially there's this really weird love triangle where essentially the main character, he's got a crush on one girl, and this happens in the first couple chapters to where crush on one girl, he forgets a book in his classroom, goes back and sees her gym clothes essentially on the floor in a bag, and he steals them, and then this other girl catches him, and then this other girl essentially just tortures the motherfucker by blackmailing him about it. So has him doing all this really weird, depraved, shitty stuff, and while he's while he's doing this stuff because of her, he ends up getting close to his original crush. And then the girl that's torturing him, I'll give names here in a bit, and then the girls that's torturing him just uses that as essentially further ways to torture him. Such as, like, letting him get close, but, like, doing shit like making him wear her gym clothes under his clothes while he's out on a date with her and shit. And then, like, if he doesn't do exactly what she wants, she'll do shit like on that date, he didn't kiss her like, the girl that's torturing him wanted him to. So she went and poured cold water on him so that, the gym clothes would show through the rest of his clothing. And, whenever that happened, he just got up and ran, and he was, like, terrified that she saw, that her clothes were on under his. And, thankfully it didn't happen, but, I mean, the other girl still had the blackmail on him, you know, could still bring it up at any point in time. So, there's this really weird triangle to where slowly, as she was fucking with him, he started to fall for her. So, like, originally he wanted this other girl, the one that was like, she was essentially, I'm gonna say it as it's said in the manga, she was his Venus, you know, the Aphrodite, the there you go, the divine goddess of beauty, essentially. And he wanted her, and then slowly, as the manga progressed, he went away from her towards the other one, and then that one was left going, what the fuck? So I'll give the names here of these first three. So the main protagonist, his name is Takao. Is it Kasuga? Yeah, it's Takao Kasuga. The crazy girl that's blackmailing him, blackmailing him. Her name is Sawa Nakamura, and then the crush, her name is it Nanako Saki? I think it's Saeki. Probably butchered all of them, but we're going to move on anyway, so that I can butcher them even more. There are two other notable people that I'll bring up later as they come in. But Takao, who is the main character, I'm trying to remember where it left off. Okay, so he's being blackmailed by Sawa, and he's interested in Nanako. There we go. We bridged all that. I probably should have said that way better. But so as he's chasing after Nanako, essentially Sawa kind of forced him into it due to the blackmail, and then it started going his way, and he's all like, what the fuck? I did not expect this. She's not supposed to like me. And it turns out that Nanako, it turns out that she's extremely lonely. Like, she is super popular because she's super good at everything, but it's not because she wants to be good at these things. It's just pressure from her family that's making her do all this shit. So she's super lonely. And whenever Takao essentially asked her out, she's all like, oh shit, someone actually is interested in me? So she kind of, I'm going to say she kind of goes yandere, where she's all like, okay, this person wants me. And then as she starts losing him to Nanako, she's all like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Wait, why don't you want me all of a sudden? This doesn't make any sense. And in her defense, it doesn't make any sense. Because Sawa is fucking insane, man. The kind of shit that she does, just essentially for her own amusement, and it's wild. And I'm gonna say at the very end of the manga, so there's actually only 56 chapters. 57 is a chapter dedicated entirely to Sawa, to where you're seeing the events of one of the first couple chapters through her eyes, and I think it's so enlightening, and it's so nice, because she does not actually see the world like everybody else. Like, she sees people as essentially these, like, fiery ghost figures, and, like, whenever they speak to her, like, bugs come out of their mouth and shit. So, like, she, like, is just built different. So that's why she acts like this. She doesn't take anything really seriously, and she only values her own entertainment, because the entire world is fucking frightening, man. And it doesn't make any sense. So learning that, like, it just made me, like, I already appreciated her as a character, but, like, I couldn't fully wrap my head around her character until that last chapter, until I read that, and I went, holy shit, that is so nice to have there. I'm so glad they put that there. Normally, those kind of, like, reflective, chapters where you're just seeing the chapter that you've already read, but from a different perspective, different character's perspective. I don't really like them because they don't really add anything. Like they add some, but like most of the time they reveal feelings that you already knew they had, so it's kind of pointless to me. This one isn't like that. It's so different. It's so surreal even. But to get back where all of that tangent was going from, so one of the very impactful moments of this to me was so Sawa and Takao, essentially Takao ends up head over heels for Sawa, and Sawa, as I've discussed, she's fucking insane. So they essentially they get in trouble for doing a bunch of other shit like so Takao, as he is slowly like falling for Sawa, he essentially just wants to make her smile, wants to make her happy. So, and he found how to do that is by doing depraved, stupid, deplorable shit. Things like sneaking into the girls' what you call it? Not the bathroom, the like where they change for gym. Sneaking into their locker room, there we go. Stealing all of their panties and just running away with them. And then he creates a little hideout for the two of them, and he just hangs them up there. And then eventually they do shit like painting them, and then there is this festival going on, and he talks about like taking them and like hanging them up all over the festival or all over town while everyone's out for the festival. But shit kind of breaks down while that's happening. Things like Nanako, like I said, she's kind of like full on yandere. She wants to know what's going on in Takao's head, following and figuring shit out. So like she already knew that it was him because previously Sawa told Nanako that Takao stole her fucking gym clothes. He was the one that did it, and she, at that point of it being revealed, didn't really care. Instead, she just thought like, well, at least he's thinking of me. But so shit happened to where there was like a falling out between the three of them in the hideout. Hideout ended up burning down, and then after that, shit just kind of went off the walls to where there's a police investigation due to the burning down of that thing because it burnt some like brush and shit. And they try to get Takao and Sawa in to question them, and Sawa doesn't show. She just completely disappears to then reappear after breaking into Takao's house because he's now grounded because he's been acting like a little fucking degenerate, not explaining anything. So his parents are all like, what the fuck, you're such a good kid, but like we have to do something to try to save you from yourself. Because they have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. He's just sneaking out. He just goes out late without telling them, does all this weird shit, no explanation, so they're all like, something's very clearly going on. We need to try to nip this on the bud. But Sawa breaks into their house, and then whenever the dad like tries to restrain her, like she has a baseball bat, and she fucking just destroys his leg. Just absolutely obliterates him, and then grabs Takao by the arm and says, we're going. And then they go and run away to some abandoned building somewhere, and then that's their little hideout for a bit. Until they come up with a plan to get a knife, a lighter, and some kerosene, and then that festival, they're going to go steal the stage where the performer is supposed to be, and they're going to light themselves on fire. That shit, like, so they don't reveal that they're going to set themselves on fire, but you can kind of guess something's going on, like, because of just how they're acting. They're being very Romeo and Juliet kind of shit. If we can't have each other, then we don't want life kind of shit. But whenever they get there, they storm the stage, kick whoever's on there, and go to light themselves on fire. And, like, fucking Takao hands the lighter over to Sawa so that she can flip it, and just as she goes to light it, she pushes him off the stage into the crowd, and then she goes to light herself, and she gets tackled by a security guard. And, like, the emotions, the ride, because so much shit happens so quickly. Like, all of that I just said happens in one chapter. Like, that shit is just back to back to back to back. Like, you're sitting here going, what are these kids planning? What's going on? Something like, what is happening? And then she pushes him, and you're all like, huh, I just need to fucking breathe after that one. I don't have a physical copy of the book, but I essentially minimized it and went, shit, I gotta cool down after that one. Holy shit, brother. So that was the first rough one, and then after that happens, it's revealed, like, so there's a little bit, like, I think there's another chapter explaining essentially what's going on after that, to where the main character moves, Sawa also moves, but what they don't tell you until way later is Nanako also moves. Like, all three of them just are separated now. And then it skips 3 years into the future. Someone that I should mention just briefly, just to get it in people's heads here, is Nanako had a best friend whose name was, I'm going to say it's Ai. It's AI. And then it's Kinoshita. I'm hoping that I don't have those names reversed, but everywhere I was looking, it looks like Ai, or AI, Ai, whatever it's looking like. That's her first name, not her last name. But she was there with Nanako as Nanako was going around essentially yandering to Takao. She was there being a real, actual voice of reason, going, these two are perverts, criminals, and they're fucked up. We need to go to the police. And Nanako's all like, no, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. I need to know what Takao is thinking. I need to know what he's feeling. I gotta know. And then I, trusting her friend, only wanting what's best for her, just kept her mouth shut. I think she's the one that ended up reporting shit to the police. I do not remember I don't remember. But at one point in time, she did say that she was going to the police. I don't know if she actually did or not. I feel like she did. And the reason I bring it up is because she comes back later. Because, like, like, whenever Nanako ends up, like, not moving away, at some point in time, I essentially just lets all of her emotions out on Takao, blaming him for absolutely fucking everything, and calling him a horrible person and everything, and that just comes up later as a flashback. But she does come back later. So, the second emotional, like, hit in the face for me is after this time skip. They move forward 3 years. Now they're in high school. Alright. It shows you how Takao is now. He is extremely, like, self-isolated. So, originally he was a huge bookworm. Absolutely loved reading. Like, that was his driving force. Like, that was his personality. Is, I read adult things, and I'm very smart because of it. People don't understand me because of the things I read. He drops all of that. All of his hobbies, gone. Who he is, he just kind of becomes a hollow shell, as I think that's how he refers to himself there, is he's just hollow. He's not really a human, because, like, everything is gone. Because whenever they moved, essentially they put him through some sort of psychiatric help or what have you. And then essentially what he did was he just put his walls up, sucked everything in, and now he just goes with the flow. He doesn't really react or do anything with anybody. He just goes home, lays in bed, gets up, goes to school. Like, that's just kind of how he is now. He's just kind of nothing. And then the rest of the manga is him breaking out of this shell and then confronting everything that had happened in the past so that he can move forward with his life. The second, and what I was originally saying, the second slap in the face is what I'm going to call it. Alright, so he meets a new girl. Her name is it Ayatakiwa? It's Ayatakiwa. I don't know which one's the first and which one is the last name. I think Tokiwa or Takiwa is the last name. I think. So I'm going to call her Aya. There was a point in time in the manga where she signed her name Aya, so I'm assuming that's her first name. Aya is kind of like Takao. She is hiding herself from the world because the people she's around isn't interested in the thing she's interested in. And at some point in time, Takao ends up seeing her in, like, a bookstore, just a chance meeting. Like, they meet or talk. Okay, so briefly, her friend group, like half of it can't go to like karaoke or something, so they invite his friend group. And originally he says no and then changes his mind and he goes. So that's their first chance encounter. And then sometime afterwards he sees her at a bookstore looking at what was his favorite book in middle school, and it kind of like jolts something in him to where like there's just this uncontainable like excitement about it. He's all like, oh my god, someone's actually looking at that book. I read that book so many times that it fell apart in my hands, essentially. So he's very excitable, and like he doesn't really like contain himself, and she's kind of freaked out. She's all like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And he's all like, oh shit, my bad, I'll not do that again. But it shows her that he is a bookworm of some sort. So he used to be in middle school, he had so many books, and he threw them all out. Like, he didn't just stop reading, he got rid of them all. And that's a small point between the two of them, to where he learns that she is a really big bookworm like he used to be, and she slowly digs that back out of him, just by them being friends. They start talking about books, stuff like that. She lets him borrow some books and stuff like that. And she's all like, so when do I get to borrow some of yours? And he's all like, I threw them all out. Sorry, bro. So he's just essentially slowly reading all of her books. And then eventually, they're friends, and she said that he can borrow a book. They go back to her fucking house. And there's a point where, so like, she already has a boyfriend. It was established by this point she has a boyfriend. Takao has like no real interest in anything like that. He's just all like, yo, free books. I like books, so I'm gonna go and get some books. But it creates a small point of contention between her and her boyfriend, because her boyfriend was never in her room yet, and yada yada yada. And that's just because she was hiding the fact that she was such a bookworm from him. Essentially, like, he would make fun of her and call her a nerd and shit like that, and so with the rest of the friend group, so she just avoids it by not letting any of them into her room. That's kind of normal school behavior. I'm going to hide this part of myself that everyone else will make fun of. But she kind of opens up a bit to him because he's also a bookworm, and no one really knows him or anything like that. But Aya ends up being his love interest. It does end up happening just slowly over time, because they make like a real connection over books. And eventually, since he's in her room, he sees that she had like a little outline for a book that she wanted to write, and he's all like, let me read that. I want to read that. And originally, she's all like, fuck no, because like that. I don't know about any of you, but whenever it comes to writing something, especially something that is just like an outline, something that is very raw and unrefined, you can be very insecure about that. I know I am. Like, it's one of those, like, to me, it'll be all like, if you really want to see, I'll show you, but it's stupid and bad and awful. Like, it's just kind of a rough idea of what I want. Like, if you want to see it, you can, but please don't expect much. And if you say it's bad, I'll probably cry. But if you really want to... But he's all like, I want to see it. And he does, and he's all like, this is fucking great. I want to see you actually make this. And then that starts a little... I don't want to say it. It's a connection between the two of them, such as he's trying to help her write more, egg her on, be like a little cheerleader, you know? And it's through that, like, they're just friends. But it also creates a little ripple in her and her boyfriend's relationship that they eventually smooth over, because Takao and the boyfriend, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, he was only in, like, a chapter, maybe a chapter and a half, so I didn't go back and look up his name beforehand. My bad, I'm sorry. But ends up, he goes back with them to the little hideout with their group of friends, hangs out with them for a day, and it just created like a rocky spot because, and this is where the boyfriend goes, I was never allowed in your room, and this random guy is? What the fuck's up with that? So they kind of blow up, come back over, and I think it's the next day or within the week. They end up back together, quote unquote, stronger than ever, and they work at the same place. And then Takao, that's where he kind of realizes. So I believe this is where he sees Nanako again, where Nanako ends up in his city because there's some sort of little event that her and her boyfriend are going to, and they see each other briefly. And just in that meeting, I think it's this meeting, Nanako just kind of goes, Takao, I see you're still fucking hiding. Like, you're still being a little pathetic worm. Get the fuck over it. And that kind of jogs him a little bit. And he's all like, oh shit, maybe she's right. It's either, it's this one. And then he ends up essentially taking that, and you see him fight with his demons there. And then he's sitting there reeling, fighting with his demons. And then you flip the page, and he is bursting into the coffee shop where Aya and her boyfriend work. Well, her boyfriend is there, and he goes, Aya, I want to go out with you. Or will you go out with me? And that just dumbfounded me. That was a slap in the face. I'm all like, holy shit. I was not expecting that. Hello, emotions. There is so much cringe. There's so much raw emotion here. I need to... Because I'm pretty sure that chapter ends there, too. And it's just a... Huh. Hold up. We weren't expecting that. I was expecting it in, like, 4 chapters. Not right now. I was not expecting to turn the page to that. Hold up now. Stop. Pump the brakes. Please. So that was another point where I went, nope. I gotta reconcile with that now. That's rough, buddy. It was so good, though. Like, both of these emotional impacts, they were so good, and to me, the build-up was so nice. The second one, so, like, I really liked the first one, because the build-up was nice, smooth progression, and it just, like, slowly escalates to the point of no return. And whenever you hit that point to where they're trying to light themselves on fire, you're sitting there going, holy shit, I knew it was going to go far, but not this far. And, like, there's those raw, just what I like, the raw, nice emotion. Like, it's like rubbing yourself down with fucking sandpaper. You're just raw. And then there's this one, to where you're sitting there getting acclimated to the water going, okay, so we're going to sit here, he's going to figure himself out, and then he's going to have to go through his own emotions so he can finally ask this girl out, and no, he just fucking does it. And you're left going, holy shit, bro. Pump the brakes. Like, 2 completely different sets of really high emotions, and, like, I'm here for it. I'm there for it. It was so good. I loved it. And then with that scene, like, originally the boyfriend's all like, ha ha, cool story, that's so funny. And then Takao sitting there, like, damn near mean-mugging her, going, I want you, essentially. And slowly the guy gets it, he's all like, oh shit, you're so serious, you're not joking. And then, fucking Aya, put on the spot right there, also emotional, ends up going, alright, bro, we're done, we're over. And then she actually becomes Takao's girlfriend. And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? Because, like, I can see it. Like, I can see it, you know? Because, like, their relationship, there was no real foundation. Like, they didn't have anything in common. It was, I feel like it was just kind of a thing because they were working. Hello there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because they're working together, it was just kind of that kind of a thing. And now that she has someone that she has real interest in, she's more interested in him, you know? This right here, I was not expecting that. My brain is now frazzled. Let me try to reel it back in here. So like, to me, it makes sense in the character. You know, this person is way more compatible with her, so it makes sense that she would call it off to go with the guy that she thinks she's going to like more. And then the rest of the manga is just kind of exploring their relationship. Their relationship and Takao actually coming to terms with who he is, what he is, reconciling with his past. So something that happens, I think it's a few weeks after, is his grandfather, Takao's grandfather, who was in the city that he used to live in, gets sick, isn't in the hospital. So his parents were going to go, and typically he'd be like, okay, I'm just going to stay home and do my own thing. But he actually says, I'm going to go. And his parents at first are all like, we don't know about that because that's where a lot of your trauma is. And he's all like, I got to confront it, boys. We gotta go get this figured out at some point. And so they let him, and he ends up, like I mentioned earlier, Ai comes back. So she apparently just lived a few houses down from his grandfather. So she ended up seeing him in the funeral, or at the funeral, and she's all like, I want to talk to you. I want to see you. And then Takao tells his parents, so I think it's after the funeral or something like that, tells his parents, his mom drops him off at a coffee shop to go talk to her, and this is where you actually get some, like, a little more, how do I say it? There's more character building with IE, which I appreciate. Because, like, you get to see some of her insecurities here. Because, like, she's the one who reveals that Nanako also moved whenever Takao and Sawa did. She reveals that, and then she asks if Takao has any idea where Sawa is. And he's all like, nope, I haven't seen Sawa since the incident, since she pushed me off the stage. And she asks about Nanako first, and he's all like, yeah, I saw her briefly the one day she was out with her boyfriend. And then IE kind of, like, breaks down a bit. She's all like, I got left behind again. And I'm all like, okay, so this is a real character. I appreciate that. But IE then says, asks. So first it was about Nanako, and then IE brings up Sawa. She's all like, do you know where Sawa is? Do you know anything about her? And Takao's all like, nope, haven't seen her since. And she's all, and kind of goes along with the, I know where she's at. If you want to know, I can tell you, write it down, here you go. And then that creates a whole new set of stakes to where now Takao knows where the girl that ruined his life is. Like, he doesn't actually, so what he does is he takes the piece of paper, puts it in his pocket, and then he goes over to Aya's house and essentially unloads everything on her. So Aya, this entire time, has been working on her book with Takao kind of rooting for her, you know, being a cheerleader, being like, yeah, go, go, go. And she finally finished the book, and Takao's all like, I can't read this right now. And then he just unloads everything on her. And I could see how she reacted being normal, to where she's all like, she took the book and she went, you can't read this ever because it's now meaningless to me. And she ripped it up and threw it everywhere. And then she asked him to leave, and he's all like, I'm not doing that. Because he, at this point, he knows the issues he's causing, and he's not running away from it anymore. He is manning up, and he's going, I need to fix this. We need to figure this out, because he actually is in love with Aya. He actually likes Aya and trusts her and wants to be with her. That's why he unloaded on her. That's why she is the first person he's actually talked to about this. So he can lean on her, and essentially that's him asking for help for the first time ever. Essentially going, this is a shitstorm that I can't do on my own. And I really like that character progression. I really like seeing it, especially because it's not, like, spoken. You just witness it. And Aya, at that point, runs off, essentially. Being all like, get away from me, I don't want anything to do with you. And that causes Takao to go chase her down, and being all like, no, just wrap his arms around her and being all like, no, I'm not leaving you. This is not, we're not ending this because of this, essentially. And then she turns around and she's all like, okay, then kiss me. Just actually show a sign of devotion towards her, you know? Like, that is the, what's the word I'm looking for? Starts with an A. It's not appreciation. It's essentially, show me you actually care about me. Because beforehand, the reason she ran away is because he's all like, I need to go see Sawa so that I can live my life happy with you. So I can see in Aya's eyes being all like, oh, after all of that, you're still not over her. So what am I? Essentially, am I just your, shit, what's that term? It's like the first person you date after a bad breakup. I can't remember the term right now. So I'm just gonna have to move past it. But yeah, one of the, rebound. There we go. Found it. She's essentially like, am I just your rebound? And he had to prove to her that she wasn't. That he actually wanted her, and he just needed to get past his past trauma so that he could live a happy life with her. And so at that point, she essentially says, okay, but I'm going with you. And I think that some of the best scenes come from that decision. Like, because whenever they meet up, like they do meet up relatively quickly, her mom is running like, like a little restaurant out of their house, essentially. And so she comes home, and then right there, comes home, sets their food down for them, and then that's where like the first meeting happens. Except for Sawa's all like, I'm going to go. I don't want to see you ever again. And at that point, like, Takao, like, he's overwhelmed with emotion. He's all like, him just seeing her essentially triggers him, like, super fucking bad. And at that point is where Aya steps in. She steps up and she's all like, he needs this essentially. So can you please come out and talk to us? So then she's all like, so then Sawa's all like, go wait out by the shore. I'll be out in a little bit. And at that point, there is some emotions that happen that I really appreciate. All right. Like, there are scenes that out of context, they would make almost no sense. But in the context, like, I'm sitting there going, this makes so much sense for these characters, you know? Because, like, it's a final release to me. It's a final release of emotions that needed to happen. So, and it's not like they fucked or anything. That, like, none of that happened. But out on the bank, it's essentially, they sit there, they start talking, and, like, it looks bad to where, like, Sawa is essentially like, I see you, I don't want anything to do with you, go away. And then she turns around to leave, and you see Takao chase after her and hug her, essentially. I can't remember his words. I should have probably looked them up. But essentially, I'm pretty sure it was like some sort of words of endearment, somewhat, because I remember Aya being shocked, and then Sawa essentially turns around and just hits him in the face. And then those two, Takao and Sawa, just start beating the shit out of each other. And, like, I'm sitting there going, yeah, that checks out. It checks the fuck out. Because I think what it was I think Sawa was essentially saying, you're normal now. Just be normal. Leave me alone. I need to be where I am, the way I am. Like, she reveals that she has not changed. She is just suppressing everything. And it's just, I'm assuming, to make her, like, her life easier. Make everyone's life around her easier. And so, like, she is unchanged whatsoever. And like I said before, with Chapter 57, everything makes sense. Like, that's not something that just changes. Like, how she sees the world is just, yeah, it's just wild. It's just crazy. Like, and I mean, like, and I don't mean philosophically, I mean physically, how she sees the world. Like, her brain warps shit to where everything just looks like monsters. So, like, you see that, and it's all like, you see why she can't just change. But while they're beating the shit out of each other, fucking Aya's sitting there horrified, and then she eventually goes to, like, pull her off of him, and and Takao stops her. He's all like, nah, essentially this needs to happen. So it happens, it finishes, and then eventually, like, there's a picture of the three of them. You know, you've seen, like, the cliche, like, circles, where you got, like, three people, like, all their heads all together, and they're all laying out. That's essentially the final hurrah for those three, and I thought it was really nice. It was a really way to just close that out, because it made sense. It wasn't like, oh my god, everything's better. No, nothing's better. Nothing will be better, but at least now there's closure, and I really, really appreciate that. And then past that, that's kind of where everything kind of wraps up. They end up going back to school, and then nothing really of worth happens. Not that it's coming to memory, at least. Essentially, it's just the closing of the manga at that point. It's just, it shows them go back to their daily life, their daily routine, shows what that looks like, and then it kind of lets you zoom forward on all of the main characters. Where, like, it shows essentially, like, in a chapter or two, it's 1 or 2 chapters, where it just kind of fast forwards through all of their lives to where you can see what their lives led to, you know what I mean? Which I also thought was really nice. And then there was chapter 57, like I've already explained twice now. So, to me, the closing thoughts on this is it's a really good read. I don't think my 40-minute explanation here does it justice. I thought it was a really good read. I'm going to say I think at this point it's probably number 4 on my favorites. Which, just to go down the list, it'd be Poon Poon. I believe the name is The Horizon, is the second one. Really short, really good. And then I think it's Frisia, and then I think it's this one. And the other reason I think it doesn't beat out Frisia is, like, to me, it's the same thing with, like, Poon Poon. It could never beat out Poon Poon because Poon Poon has this and more to give. I think that that's why it can't beat out Frisia, is because Frisia, wow, the relationship stuff is vastly different in Frisia, it has that dark relationship shit plus more to give. And I think that that's why I can't really beat it out. So, yeah, I think that's about everything. I know I've missed a good bit. Like, there's a part with the funeral where essentially Takao, the rest of Takao's family reveals that he's an embarrassment to them, which, that's kind of poignant. And what I like about it is, so, at the state that he's in, it shows how he's grown. Because at one point in time, he would hear that kind of critique from people, and he would run away from it. He would ignore the words and run away from it. But what he does is essentially they're all like, you know, you're a stain on this family. Our grandfather died not wanting to see you because he just pretended you didn't exist. And they're all like, and you haven't even apologized. Like, what do you have to say for yourself? And he just right then and there, he's all like, I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused you. And like, in those panels, like, the way it is worded and seen, I could see it as, I don't want to say pandering, that's the wrong word, but, like, I kind of read it the first time to where he's just kind of, like, just doing it to do it, and then I ended up rereading it a couple times, because I'm all like, that doesn't make sense for the scene. Where he is at as a character, I do not believe that that is the intention that the author, like, wants to put forward, because that's not who he is as a character right now. So now, like, rereading it, I'm all like, I'm pretty sure that this is a sincere gesture. Because, like, for me, like, if someone's all like, you need to apologize, and I sit there and I just go, I'm sorry, it's not quite as sincere as me coming forward myself. But also at the same time, in that scene, Takao probably didn't really think about how the rest of his, like, extended family thought about him. It's been 3 years since the incident. Everything's kind of died down. He probably hasn't thought about it. Or even if he has, he probably hasn't been in contact or around them to be able to apologize. And plus, this being the first time he might have seen them in years, there's a funeral going on, their grandfather's dying. It's not going to be his first thought to go and apologize to everybody for what he did 3 years ago while he was in middle school. So, I think it is a sincere gesture of people brought it to his attention, and he's all like, I'm sorry I did this. I'm sorry that I caused all of this trouble. So that, like, that's one little thing I missed. There's a bunch of little things, but I hit what I think is the most important bits. I should probably, like, say spoiler warning or something. Probably should have, but it's a bit late now. I could edit it in post, but I've never used YouTube's editing software, so I don't really know how it works. Maybe I'll look into that. Who knows? But I think that that's everything that I want to talk about with this. Overall, it is a really good series. I would recommend it to just about anybody. There is some graphic shit that happens. Like, there is sexual assault that happens. There is shit like that. Maybe I should have said that somewhere in the beginning. I feel kind of bad 45 minutes in now saying that, but I didn't really think about it. There's stuff of that graphic nature. At least where I read it, it has tags that says all of that shit, so hopefully that's a good enough warning to anybody. But all in all, it was a really good read. like I said, I ended up reading all 56 chapters in essentially a day, a little over a day, depending on how you look at it. So like I was hooked. I was in it. I enjoyed it. So I'd tell anybody, read it. It's a good read. It is a solid read. So yeah, I think that those are my thoughts on this. I'm gonna say thank you for watching. If you made it this far, probably not. It's 45 minutes of me just rambling, but yeah, I think that's it. See ya.